They don't have really anything to offer other than being young and hot.
Keep in mind, you got to be careful when you're saying that. All of those are really good traits. While you see a woman that's inexperienced, in their world, that's a woman that's coachable. While you see a woman that's just young and hot, they see a woman that has been masculinized by Western society. While you see somebody that doesn't offer anything of extreme value, they see somebody that they can make dependent on themselves that will only enrich their lives. Everything you're saying is a negative, and their worldview is an extreme positive. The Myron dude is a smart guy. He's not a dumb I'm not going to be able to just like trap him with an easy 1 or 2 gotcha questions. You can, 1, tell he prepared for this, and 2, he's a sharp dude. He's not an idiot, even if I disagree with his worldview. So when you're dealing with people with very consistent worldviews, if you try to throw a gotcha question or you try to undermine them with an easy like rhetorical punch, they will destroy you and make you look horrible if you're not ready. Now I'm like, oh I don't actually even have an answer to that. I don't know how to do it.
Hey, I got a couple questions about that fresh and fit thing. It was really good. You had a good showing.
Thanks, I try.
But here comes the but.
Okay.
It's the only one, I swear.
Go for it.
The moment where you drop the whole like when there was that moment, the awkward moment. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
how did that happen?
Joke.
No, not the N-word joke. Whatever. That's a fucking that's a nothing burger. That's a bigger nothing burger than Hillary's email.
Okay.
No, the fucking when when it came out that you're in an open relationship, and it even came out the worst way. It almost sounded like they were insinuating that you're just that it's not an open relationship, and you don't get to.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but something you have to recognize with these communities is that any type of open relationship is a cuck. Like if I were to say I watch my wife getting railed in the bedroom and I cry, versus I'm like in an open relationship with both people, in that audience, both of those things are exactly the same. There's literally no difference.
Dang. Okay.
It's just how
the
they
thought
do
going
it,
through the thought going through my mind when that happened was like, fuck, man, this was like the one biggest thing for you to prepare for when this came up, and it just felt so flat.
There's literally nothing like that's just a super ingrained. Like you have to fight on every other topic, but on that thing, that's like an immovable thing because you're striking at like the core of a lot of people's like masculinity there. Like the idea of like having. Yeah, of course, because that and my bisexuality, of course, is going to come up. But I mean, like, the way I see it is like, you own it and you move on. Like, that's it. Because, like, the thing is if you try to fight on the point, the way in all of their minds, the way that audience interprets it is it's all going to come across as a massive cope, and they're not going to believe anything you say. They're going to be like, oh, like, he's like, now that he's arguing about it, he's even more sad. Like, you can tell how angry he's getting every time his wife is with some BBC Chad, like, he's crying. And the more so she's like, yeah, you just own it and you move on to the next thing. I think that's it.
Huh. I think there's a measure of that. I think there's a risk of that, of like coming off like you're trying too hard to convince somebody. But
I mean, if you want, you can go and read through their subreddit or their comments or whatever. That's an unwinnable. I think it's important to identify. I learned this from Rob. I take a technique from every person that I argue with. Okay, I learned this from Rob. Something that is incredibly effective is if you think there's a point that you can't win, you concede it immediately, move on to the next thing, and you don't even bring it up again. You just completely boom, boom. That's it. If you fight hard on a losing point, then you're investing a lot of emotional energy. You're getting a worse opinion of you being created or fostered by the audience because they're seeing you like try to fight on a massive L point, and it's going to poison the rest of the arguments you make because that's going to stick stronger in their mind. Whereas like you make one joke, you're a cuck or whatever, and then you just move on to the next thing, and then you focus on the areas that you can fight the strongest in.
All right. Well, I have a couple questions. Number one, who the hell is Rob?
Rob Noor or whatever? Nowhere?
Oh, Rob Noor. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something he does really well, I don't know if you notice this, but like he'll be like, Hillary Clinton was murdering people like Seth Rich, and she did her email stuff, and it was super f***ed up and everything, and I don't think that was good. He'll be like, Hillary didn't email Seth Rich, dude. Do you have any proof of that? Okay, yeah, she did, but the email stuff is really important. He'll concede so quickly, you don't even know you won a point. He'll just concede and then move on, and you're like,
sure,
wait,
that may be the case.
Yeah, I should feel good about that. But he'll concede it and then move on to the next strongest point so quickly. And rhetorically, that's an incredibly effective thing. Because now in the audience's mind, you didn't even get a W. They're just like, oh, okay, yeah, they're just talking about something. They're going to the next thing, Yeah.
It's just all conspiracy theorists are like that. You put one thing down, they say, yeah, but all right, here's the next one, here's the next one. I don't know. It just feels
sure, but I think Rob is exceptionally good at making it look like he's never conceded a single point because he'll say, okay, and then move on to the next thing, and you're like done before you even realize.
To his base, the base that's already predisposed to like wanting to hear his side or whatever.
Well, I think even rhetorically, I think that to anybody, it sounds good. This is why one of the debate things that I've gotten, and I'm trying to hold people more to this. I think I did it a few times on the Fresh Fit podcast. If you feel like you've won on a point, you need to pull that concession out of them. You need to get them to say it so that the audience can understand it. It's almost like directing a movie. Like you have to explicitly show things to people to make them understand. You can't be like subtle about it. So like, well, a couple of the times they brought up this like one-ended open relationship. Like I had to make sure that the audience understood you are only talking talking about like a 1% of men that can do this, right? This isn't going to be for 99.9% of the audience. And even though that was kind of implied based on everything that was said before, I needed to hear them say it so that the audience knew nothing that we're talking about right now applies to you guys. This is some 1% of 1% shit. Yeah.
Okay. You've been doing this for a long time.
True.
So, I understand that you have a lot of experience with this, but
I always take critiques too. So yeah, go.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sure I agree. Like right now, I'm kind of in a space where I feel like you are the energy that you put out, and that like even if you have insecurities, even if you have things that you worry about, even if you don't fully 100% believe all the things that you're saying, if you put out the energy that you do, you're gonna fool a lot of people. You're gonna convince a lot of people, and yeah, I don't know, like. Reading the subreddit and stuff like that, that's going to give me a gauge on the most vocal people, what the most vocal people have to say. I'm just curious what that would have looked like if, like, instead of just letting it fall flat and you just being like, yeah, 6'4" NBA player, yeah, sure. If you had been like, yeah, sure, listen, maybe sex isn't that important to us in our relationship. That's a thing that we don't really want to deny. All the arguments that you know. That
yeah, I know what you're saying, but the issue is that, like, when I'm arguing, I have to stand on... So this is part of me acknowledging mutual descriptive truths. When I'm fighting with them, we have to be standing in the same dimension. I can't be standing in another world screaming at them because I'm going to look insane. So comments like that, like, oh, well, the sex thing isn't that important, blah, 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 blah. Any phrase that I utter like that, it might be consistent from my worldview, but I am striking against core fundamental tenets of what these other people believe. In their mind, and they enumerated or elaborated on this later, in their mind, a woman that's fucking another person is doing so because you're deficient. A woman that's fucking another person is doing so because she doesn't respect you. A woman that's f***ing another person isn't truly in love with you because a woman that loves her man wouldn't do that. So for me to just kind of casually brush over them, like, oh, we just both have sex because it's fun for both of us. Even if I believe that, in their minds, they're hearing these things. It would be like going into a debate and be like, oh yeah, 1 + 1 is 3, 2 × 2 is like 10. And sometimes I think 10 divided by 5 can be 17. It would be the equivalent to uttering that, where every single thing I'm saying, the audience would be like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? Everything would sound insane. I would have spent a lot of time building up that argument in a really foundational way. It wouldn't be something I could just brush off in a friendly manner. Although I encourage you to try if you want to try that, but...
Well, I mean, I feel like I do that pretty regularly. I don't have obviously the wealth of conversations that you've had or at the scale that you've had them, but that is like my sort of strategy is at the very least, I've seen you do this. You plant a seed, right? In that moment, you could have been like, we can talk about that. It may not be exactly as you think it might be. Like if you want to have a more in-depth discussion about my open relationship, we'd like to. The way you
actually,
I wouldn't agree with it.
I think he DM'd me to chat to come on and like argue about it later. I think this morning I saw that. So maybe we might do that at some point. I wouldn't mind having a conversation about that explicitly. But that has to be a dedicated. It has to be a dedicated, full-on conversation.
The rest of the conversation would have to be about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it can't be something I bring up in passing because I need to hit. There's a whole strategy to having that conversation that's going to be incredibly challenging. Yeah, and it all has to be handled with like extreme care. Yeah.
In that moment, even I think if you wanted to have your cake and eat it too, I think maybe in hindsight, the optimal way to approach that would have been like, like you said, saying that, hey, it doesn't bother me that much if we both fuck her. It doesn't bother me that much if she's like messing around with other guys, and it doesn't bother her that much if I'm messing around with other girls or something like that. If that would have been 1 + 1 = 3 to that person, like planting a seed or something. Like, have you ever thought about maybe why it wouldn't bother us that much, but it bothers you that much?
It bothers them because we have a foundationally and fundamentally different way in which we do.
I'm just saying, planting that seed of saying like, well, like maybe it bothers you more than it bothers me, and it would, bother
because
your...
it doesn't sound. They won't even believe what I'm saying. They won't even believe it. It just sounds like a huge cope.
Well, it could. It depends on the energy that you put out, and I think you're generally
I understand, and I do think I'm pretty good, but that's why, like, I can analyze this 50 million ways. Like, I can say in kind of like a passive, blasé way, and it's going to sound like I don't want to talk about it much because I'm like coping, or I can be very bombastic, like, yeah, I don't give a fuck if my wife is getting railed. Like, go for it. That's going to sound like a massive cope. It's like, oh my god, he's getting like he's so on. Well, sure, but I go like, oh, it's cool if she wants to fuck other people. Like, that's fine. You could, but then people interpret it as, oh, he's being meek about it because he's really unconfident about it. Like, there is no way. It's just too foundational. I understand what you're saying. We just agree to disagree here. I think that is too foundational to the core of what they believe to ever be able to approach that in some rhetorical way where it comes off sounding good. It's just impossible. It's like the equivalent of like trying to sell a dude on like getting f***ed by a bad dragon dildo like every night. Like, how do you make that sound like it's an okay thing that people won't like think is like super hardcore? Like, there's just no way. There's no, like, some things can't be overcome with rhetoric. They cut too hard against some fundamental belief, I think.
I don't know. Listen, even if it's not them individually on the podcast, it's the 40-40-20 rule, right? Like, it's the people that heard your response to that versus what, I think could have been the more optimal response. The number of people that were just like, if they thought that you were just like a useless cuck and nothing you had to say about relationships was valuable because of this detail, I think the way that it came off just completely re-entrenched 100% of those people when maybe you could have reached 1 or 2.
No, I understand what you're saying. I just totally disagree. Because I think anything that I would have done that you're suggesting would have re-entrenched it way harder. Me trying to fight on that point or arguing anything, I think that would have re-entrenched it even harder because everything just comes off as a co. And it's just like, well, but you're telling me to take like a different rhetorical approach. Like, I feel like I'd rather just move on as quickly as possible because there are so many other weak spots in that argument that I can hit on so much better and more effectively than ever trying to win on this ground. It's just, but we're circling the drain on it, but yeah, you can have the last word again.
Sure. Whatever. No, I think we've talked to death.
Sure.
The second thing is, I feel like when I hear you guys talk about women, and I'm curious if this is a rhetorical thing or if you have better thoughts about this, but like when I hear you talk about like LA women or Miami women or like the way that the people on the show talk about women, I understand from their perspective. And like the way Sneeko and fucking Andrew Tate talks about women, their entire experience with women is confined to like club chicks, like 18 to 22-year-old women that haven't established themselves, women that don't have any skills yet or anything like that. Like they're not established. They don't have really anything to offer other than being young and hot or something like that.
Keep in mind, you got to be careful when you're saying that. All of those are really good traits. Because while you see a woman that's inexperienced, in their world, that's a woman that's coachable. While you see a woman that's just young and hot, they see a woman that has been masculinized by Western society. While you see somebody that doesn't offer anything of extreme value, they see somebody that they can make dependent on themselves that will only enrich their lives. Everything you're saying is a negative, and their worldview is an extreme positive. That's something you have to keep in mind, because you can't just start going in on things because people are going to look at you like, yeah, what? And of course she has no experience.
I don't think it's necessarily a negative, but these are the traits, right? But I feel like that that sort of conflicts with when they talk about women being inferior. Women can't do this better than men. Women can't do that. Women aren't suited for this. Women aren't suited for that. I know because of my personal experience, the women I talk to, this, that, or the other. Like that's what I'm referring to. It's like it sounds like they're just not interfacing with any like professional women in professional spaces or educated or academic.
Yeah, to some extent that's true. But they also don't like those women either because they view those women as being masculine, right? They want coachable, docile, demure women. That's like their goal.
Isn't there some sort of rhetorical jujitsu you can pull there where you can be like, well, maybe you're not man enough to handle a woman like that or something like that?
No. To somebody
that's put it like that. But
that's what I would put it like if I was talking to somebody similar to me. That's what I would say. Because I've done those arguments where there's a whole line of thought where I can be like, oh, it sounds like you're just threatened by a woman that is confident. It sounds like this will work against people that have kind of shaky worldviews. But when I'm on a show like that, these guys have been fleshing out their worldview for months, over a year now, right? Maybe years, but maybe before they were on the show. The Myron dude is a smart guy. He's not a dumb I'm not going to be able to just like trap him with an easy 1 or 2 gotcha questions. Like you can, 1, tell he prepared for this, and 2, he's a sharp dude. He's not an idiot, even if I disagree with his worldview. So when you're dealing with people, this is a trick I figured out. When you're dealing with people with very consistent worldviews that are internally consistent, if you try to throw a gotcha question or you try to undermine them with an easy like rhetorical punch, they will destroy you and make you look horrible if you're not ready. So for instance, this is something I noticed when it comes to dealing with conspiracy theorists, you don't ever give them open-ended questions because you will look like an idiot. If you're talking to an amateur, you might, right? If you're talking to somebody if you're talking to like some random fuck and they're like, oh, I believe in flat earth. And you're like, okay, well, why is it that if I shine a flashlight across a lake, why does the light go down by the end? Like why does it look like there's curvature of the earth? On an average person, I could be like, oh shit, I don't know the answer. And then you look really good. But if I'm talking to like an expert level flat earther,
I understand what you're saying. They have all these things.
They've got
the geometric properties of the plane.
Yeah, but even worse, you won't even be able to counter, right? Yeah. I'll say some shit like, why is it if I shoot a light across a lake, why does the light fall? And they'll be like, well, in your model, isn't light literally affected by gravity? It doesn't get pulled into black holes. So why wouldn't the light be pulled down to the planet?
I understand. This is the same
and now I'm like, oh shit, I don't actually even have an answer to that. I don't know how to do it. And because I've asked them a question that they've already had these questions thrown at them before, they know all of the fucking answers to these. I'm gonna get caught out because I tried to trap them and I don't know what to do past the trap because I'm used to everybody falling in the hole. So you gotta be, I think you have to be really, really careful not to fuck up on shit like that.
Yeah, sure, I agree. And yeah, that's the same example I use. If I ever, I've always said like if I had to debate a flat earther, I'd fucking lose because those guys. I've seen some of those on modern day debates. Jesus Christ, some of those guys are.
And you need like PhD level physics knowledge to like start to untangle like some of the weird fucking shit they'll throw at you.
There are some areas that you can go. What's that?
I was gonna say half the flat earthers are PhDs in physics. I know a couple of them who just like got bored and so they'd go online and make up troll models that no one could disprove unless they had, 10, 15 years of physics experience.
Sure.
How do they answer like the difference in the stars in the night sky depending on which hemisphere you're in?
It depends on what type of flat earth you believe in. There's a lot of different models for it. Some believe in like the inner spherical model where you're like inside and there's like a substance above. Others believe that as you move around the earth, like different planes can rotate in different ways because the sky is like two-dimensional or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different types of theories on it.
There's the elevator earth where you're literally just like on an elevator moving forwards to the sky, and that's what
yeah, the earth is constantly accelerating and ascending up, and that explains gravity. Yes, I've heard that one,
Yeah.
But that still wouldn't explain why you can't see the North Star from like far enough in the southern hemisphere. That's the one I'm curious about. That seems like one of the most obvious
What do you
examples.
mean? It's a diagonal elevator.
Yeah, but you'd still be able to see it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. You can find a flat earther and ask him, but
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So I guess like if you don't mind me going into like more, I guess, personal.
You guys are all missing it. I don't know how you've lost this. The best way to destroy flat Earth, and the one that makes them look the most ridiculous, is ask why you can fly from Peru to like New Zealand in like a few hours. Because that's like that.
I don't even know if you do though.
That doesn't go very far at all.
That should go incredibly far because then they have.
You just go.
If you look at flat Earth, no. You don't understand. If you look at a flat Earth map, those are on opposite sides because you can't just go over the pole.
It's a cylinder.
That doesn't make a difference. Flat Earth is not a cylinder.
Okay, we're not here debating flat Earth.
No, but hold on. Think about that. That is the easiest way. Wait.
You know what? I was going to come in here earlier and talk about maybe how some of your success that you're not giving enough credit to Dan, like that Artesian Builds talk that you had. Fucking Dan coming in with the clutch question we found out about motherfucking, what's his name? The CEO guy having a bunch of young, like Asian fucking assistants.
Yeah.
That saved the entire interview. But now, I don't know. I'm second guessing myself. I think Dan might be sticking this one
Dan's
out.
mid.
Hold on. Let's pull up a flat Earth map. All right. If you look at a flat Earth map, you're going to see that. I guess is that Chile or Peru? Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's funny. The way that I like to go with that one is like, okay, well, you have to believe in a global conspiracy because like not even Russia, like stuff, like whatever. Yeah, sure.
No. That's not the good one. You can fly from Chile to New Zealand and not have it take you all day. Every flat Earth map that you look at, they are on the complete.
They just make the plane go faster. They artificially
I
split on all the planes.
Yes,
go debate a flat earther and figure out the answer. I don't know the answer to this. Okay.
Can I just you fucking
okay, do it. Yeah, go. Well, how do you fly over the North Pole and the South Pole if it's a flat Earth? We get it.
No, that's not it.
Dan
It's
wants
the
to set up
belief
a
that a
Shaman.
fucking Delta airplane has like alien tech that makes it go like 10,000 miles an hour. No
It's
one
just
believes
that all the other
shit.
ones are going slower, Dan.
Okay, never mind. I'm
Just
sorry.
don't
You know
the
what?
image.
Fuck it. Good luck.
Thanks. Okay, Jesus Christ.
Okay, so if you like, you're part of the sort of hookup culture. You like hooking up and stuff.
Sure.
Are you just going to like? Obviously, the trade-off is the higher probability to hook up is going to be at the places with the women that are least interesting, and vice versa, right? For women, the places that is going to be the highest consistency to find a dude to hook up with is going to be the places where the dudes are all like meatheads and fucking not whatever.
I don't know if that's
like,
necessarily true,
for,
but for sake of argument, sure.
Well, okay. Well, tell me about it.
I think women like to fuck. I think that there's a lot of like social shame that goes along with it, and I think there's a lot of like weird games that people play that kind of inhibit women's sexuality. But I think that women are generally open and free to express themselves sexually. I think they like to fuck. I think the idea that like, oh no, like women are naturally the gazelles that are hiding from the lions.
Hold on. I
and all
didn't
that
contradict that. I said.
Well, you're
women,
saying that like to find women that want to fuck, I've got to go to like the lowest denominator of like fucking weird Miami chicks. But I don't think so. I think there's a lot of like educated like chill women that also like to fuck too. They just don't feel like going to say
that's true.
Okay,
I think that's
gotcha.
true. I just said like the highest probability that you're gonna like if you're a man, the highest probability like you're gonna go to a place that is going to have the highest saturation of women that are most willing to have sex, right? And
okay, sure, yeah, okay, yeah. What's the next
part?
part? Yeah.
And it's vice versa. It's true for women as well. Women, when they want to have sex, are going to go to a club as well because the highest saturation of men that are there to have sex is there as well.
Sure.
But like the saturation of people that have something to offer beyond I want to have sex with you tonight is like the lowest there, right? Because people are going there with a mission. They're on a mission, right? They're going to the club on a mission. Obviously, like I would say there are a lot of other places where you can try to like hook up with people where maybe the likelihood that you're going to find somebody is lower, but the likelihood that you're going to find somebody interesting that you can like sort of enjoy outside of sex is probably higher.
Okay.
Are there like whenever I hear this topic come up of like going to the club in any of these spaces, like Redpill spaces, and you engage in this a little bit, I'm just curious about what your thoughts are about this, about like advice that you'd have about dudes that want to like hook up or like find women that are not like club women or whatever the hell. Like,
wait, hold on. Now, are you asking how do you find women to hook up with but not be in relationships with that aren't club women?
Well, specifically, I think a lot of people probably came away from that podcast thinking, wow, like, I'll tell you this, my sort of biases were confirmed watching that. when I watch any of those like Redpill people or Andrew Tate or Fresh and Fit talking about the quality of women or what women are capable of or what the average woman is like, I understand that it's because the average women they're interfacing with are like women at the clubs or whatever. But there are plenty of places you can go and meet women that are like maybe a higher caliber than the average club woman that these people maybe don't interface with or just don't know about, or maybe don't have a lot of
I don't know what you mean by
with.
higher caliber. I don't know any of these terms, what you mean by this.
They're more educated. Maybe they have careers, they're more accomplished.
Okay, because those wouldn't be higher caliber to these types of people, at least that are listening to Fresh and Fit.
I'm not ready to assume that. I think that's...
No,
I
I'm
think
telling you that is true. These are lower caliber women.
Really? You
Yes.
think so?
I know so.
They don't want career women.
They don't.
want
Their
somebody who's
view
gonna
is
be
that
okay sitting at home.
Yeah, those types of traits are masculine traits. When they talk about women that have gone to school and pursued careers and are working, those are masculine women to them. Those aren't desirable women at all.
Feminine women at
Interesting.
college get the MRS degree.
Yes.
What about like artists? And I don't know, like there's plenty of accomplished women that aren't necessarily doing STEM shit.
Yeah,
No,
but
they
if
want
they're
coachable women that can
trait.
take care of their households and like add value to their life. That's it. That's what they're looking for.
Sure, but then it feels like that contradicts their idea of what the average woman is capable of, because like
What do you mean
mixing and
capable of? They
matching-
think that they're capable of all sorts of things, but they don't. Just because you're capable of something doesn't mean you want to
They
do it.
don't though. If you listen to them, like Andrew Tate talking about how women aren't like capable drivers or whatever the fuck, right?
I don't.
Or
I
shit like
can't speak to Tate. I can't speak to any weird shit he says. I'll tell you that on the Fresh and Fit podcast, what Myram and Fresh would say is women are capable of doing all sorts of things, and that's part of the problem. That like women have become like more masculinized, and they're not coachable or groomable or whatever. That like that's a problem. Yeah, they can get careers and do that. They're able to do it, but it's not good for everybody else. It's bad for society.
Okay, I mean that feels like that's a trad like sort of argument that I'm used to hearing, but that's not what I'm used to hearing from the Red Pill spaces. It just seems more like the way they talk about women being inferior, or whatever the hell. Like fucking Myron started the whole podcast off making a joke about how women like men are superior to women. Like in all
Sure, he's
aspects,
got like
whatever.
the little notebook of sugar people. I think if you push them, they're not going to say that women are inferior to men. The thing they're going to focus on more and more and more is that women are different than men. That's what they're focusing on. Now they might say inferior in terms of like career and work and all that, but they'd say they just have a different set of responsibilities.
Okay, yeah, and I guess I was more curious about your sort of like it's a personal question, like if you don't want to answer, that's cool.
Well, that's
But-
anything. What's up?
It seems like you have a lot of similar complaints as like maybe the average Red Pillar about finding women or the average women or something. Like you talk about LA women or Miami women or whatever.
No, but my complaints are exactly the opposite. Like these guys seem to analyze what women are like, but they also like that same thing that they analyze. That was my big critique of Fresh and Fit, is that like you guys keep talking about how there's these crazy girls, they overvalue their pussy, blah 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 blah, but it seems like you're literally obsessed with fucking exactly these types of girls. So how can you complain? That was my whole
Right.
that was my whole point that I tried to. I think I got that actually through. I thought I failed really hard on that, but a lot of people in the comment section are saying that like, oh yeah, like I never thought about it that way. Oh yeah, that's true. That they're criticizing a certain type of girl, but all the energy they're putting out into the world is creating that type of woman. But their escape from that is like, well, we don't create anything. We're just telling you how it is. It's like, okay, well, whatever.
Oh,
Then
boy.
I can't like. I guess you're unimpeachable then. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, Irrelevant has a really good paradox for that, where he talks about how like the Red Pillars, they try to make it out like to be the most valuable woman, you have to have sex with the least amount of people. So if you place that restriction on women and say you can only have sex with 1 or 2 or 3 people, then of course they're going to reserve those experiences for like the highest quality men, and that just fucks like the like less accomplished men more or whatever.
Sure.
Do you think it's a selection strategy where if they can convince all the women that, then they can have sex with more women and they don't have to deal with all the slutty women going around?
Wait, what?
If they go and they say to everybody that a woman's only good if they're pure, and then those women are only going to go to the high value men like themselves, so they're just perpetuating the number of women they're going to sleep with.
No,
them.
it doesn't
Not
matter.
gonna
Nothing.
be
When you're in positions like those guys, or even like me, you don't have to play games to get a lot of women. Women are naturally going to come to you. You don't have to tell your fans not to fuck them. Because you're always going to be able to outcompete those other men just because of your status in life and everything.
Yeah, he brought up Leo DiCaprio too. It's funny. He brought up like
Yeah, he tried to say, oh, like look at Leonardo DiCaprio, but I was like, dude, he dates like exclusively like 25-year-olds. Like, what do you mean? Yeah.
I feel like you didn't
20
have that might be sort of room for you, some legwork that you can do for the next one, because it feels like you didn't have a super good response to that, and there are a bit like what he posed was a counterexample of like a highly successful man and how he was only going after like unaccomplished sort of really young
Well,
women.
yeah, but I clarified this later, and I did this much better than I thought too, because I saw several people echoing this. I clarified this later. People, it's actually incorrect, and I'll expand on this more next time. It is incorrect to say that like women won't date down, or men date down, and women don't date down, men date down. That's not true. Men don't date down. The thing is that what the man is doing in that situation is he is actually projecting the male desirable traits onto the woman and then he's saying that he's dating down. But that's not true. When a really accomplished man is dating a really young and hot woman, he's not dating down, because the man's value there is his career, his money, his stability, but the woman's value is how hot she is and how young she is. In that case, they're on equal level there. The woman is very hot and very young, so her status is really elevated. He's not dating down. He's dating exactly where he should be. That was the issue that I brought up with Leonardo DiCaprio. So they're like, oh no, Leonardo DiCaprio is dating down a lot. He's dating unaccomplished women. That's not true. The accomplishment, accomplishment of the woman is being young and hot. And in that case, Leo is dating exactly where he should be, which is exclusively young, hot women under the age of 25.
Right. So what are some, if I were to pose that same thing to you and be like, no, even these like super successful dudes, the highest value women they think, if I look at Leo DiCaprio, what are some counter examples you could come up with now, like that you thought of it, of like really successful men that are trying to, like pair up with really successful women? Oh, you know what else? He mentioned Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, and he talked about how this guy's nerdy, but he's rich, and it just amplified his energy, and what happened, she left him. Like, that's a complete mistelling of that story.
Yeah, but I don't know 100% what happened. I'm never going to ever try to fight on some ground that I don't know everything about. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Because as soon as I bring anything up, I learned that with Lawrence Southern. If I start bringing up like parts of an argument, I don't know the story in and out, I'm gonna get fucking destroyed and look like an idiot. So I'll never fight on those grounds.
You learned that vicariously through Lance and Lawrence Southern, I imagine.
No, I've learned it vicariously through me and debating Lawrence Southern, where if she brings up a story and I don't 100% know everything, she'll either like bullshit her way through it or know some obscure factoid, and then I'm completely lost in the argument. So if I'm not 100% familiar with the details of a story, I'll just drop it and go to the next thing, because I'm not gonna risk like trying to fight on some ground that I don't know.
Damn, that's a shitty conundrum, because you kind of have to like...
It is. I've mentioned this before. The exact conundrum is that if I'm in a debate with somebody, they're willing to make up facts, they always have the edge over me, because I'm never going to assert confidently something that I don't know anything about. But if I'm in a debate with somebody else who will do that, we get into a weird back and forth. There was a while where I said, I tried this on stream, there was a while where I said, sometimes I'll just say, you're wrong, I've read that study, and I've had people back off points. And I can tell them that they were making shit up. I've done that a couple times. I think I did it a couple times versus...
and in those instances, are you just bluffing? Or
Yeah, 100%. Someone will say like some shit, and I'll be like, oh, I wish I could remember. There were a couple of keynotes where I was like, no, actually, I read that study, and the conclusion was the exact opposite. And then they'll drop it, and they'll move on quickly to the next thing. Like, okay, you didn't know what the fuck you were talking about. So, but it's too risky, because when I'm debating somebody intelligent, or they do know what they're talking about, and I get caught doing that, then I look like all my credibility is gone.
Yes. That's the gambit. Yeah. And it really does seem like the lowest risk thing you can do is just like bitch out on the topic and be like, I don't want to talk about this. I haven't read about it. I don't want to.
Yeah, you just move on to the next thing. Yeah.
One of the biggest strengths you can have in debating and like having these public conversations is like the greatest strength you have is in how much the audience doesn't know that you don't know, and like providing the air that you may be prepared for whichever new sort of area that your counterpart may be willing to move to. Yeah, I don't know. And like anytime you expose, I don't know anything about that, it just like, fuck, it just falls so flat for an audience, and it shows your, the weakness to your counterpart and shit like that. It's such a risk, even if it's the honest thing to do, and it's the best way to sort of protect yourself from being embarrassed and having a Lance moment where you're like, come out super strong. Oh, they're genociding these kids. Look, and then you look, it's like, well, you didn't even read the fucking article.
Yeah, the best thing you can do is you just have to be as informed as possible, like have as much information as possible, and try to hope that like they don't bring up something you're not familiar with. Yeah. And if you do prepare enough, you can get rewarded, because sometimes they'll try to bring up stuff that they don't know about and you do. That happened a lot in the Allsup debate. I did a lot of research for that pro-life thing. And when he started bringing up certain studies, I knew the exact Breitbart articles that he was taking these studies from that were quoting them. So it was like a very, very easy one, because I was familiar firsthand with the sources he was bringing up. But yeah.
Primary sources written by James O'Keefe?
No, it was just he was misciting like studies and stuff that I know because they were linked in Breitbart articles, and the Breitbart article miscites the studies. So
yeah.
So then how do you engage with people who are just totally willing to throw it all away, like Haas and Hinkle?
You just have to be really, really, really familiar. It's like debating a conspiracy theorist. There's not a shortcut to it. You just have to know. So like I could do the Haas and Hinkle stuff on like on Ukraine and Russia. I'm pretty confident about that because I know so much about it. But like on any other topic, that's why I usually just don't debate conspiracy theorists. Also, I can't do it. It's a no-go for me because there's too much random shit. The vaccine stuff is a really good example. I feel really, really confident in vaccine stuff, but even with that, there's so much like random misinformation and shit. There's always a new conspiracy theory about some new thing, and if I'm not prepared or read up on it, then they're gonna have something that I'm not ready for.
Dang. And even then, they could just make some shit up too. Like, you could be having a debate with Haas, and they could be like, yes, but you didn't know about the Bolshoi exception in 1928.
Yeah, and I have no idea. Yeah, and then you just lose.
You've got to Google it, and that looks bad in a debate. Fuck.
One strategy that I've been doing recently that has worked really well a few times. Oh, you were here for that conversation. Is when somebody brings up some wild shit now, and I feel like it's wild shit, If it's somebody that I have low respect for intellectually, I'm actually okay being like, okay, well, let's just Google this and read about this right now. I think that the story about that Leo dude was really good, or worked in my favor a lot in that Nazi debate. The one that we had, you were there for that run, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Was that just the other day? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, let's go read about this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that actually annoyed me, and I kept trying to get you off that because I feel like it annoys me. Maybe I should have had a little more faith in you, but like wanting to know this, the truth of this historical like legal case that's highly contentious and disputed or something like that. Like I feel like taking 5 minutes to read a Wikipedia article about that doesn't do the respect to like that to really get to the truth of that, and it's very like it even in that.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm sympathetic. Wait, did you disconnect? Did I disconnect?
No, he's here.
Oh.
His mic might have... No, you're there.
Okay. It's a wild world we live in these days.
I don't know.
Wild people.
Just speaking colloquially, I know people in finance who still believe half the shit on Super Stunk. They're not very successful, but damn, do they drink the Kool-Aid?
What is Super Stunk?
It's with all the GME conspiracies and everything.
Yeah, and they're managing, I don't know, 5, 10, 20, 30 million dollars, something like that. So they're not nobodies, but they're not huge. It's pretty fucking insane to me, but
dude, those guys, I feel like you could do like a whole cognitive psych project on like motivated reasoning and shit when you dig into like the due diligence that they do on shit. It's unreal, like how far they go to like bend and twist like everything to explain like why they're getting fucked or why there's somebody rigging something or
why this time is going to be the one that makes Jamie go to whatever $400 billion floor or whatever.
Yeah, don't be a loser that sells when it's worth 100K a share. You have to wait for like at least 1 million a share. Like,
yeah, well, one person might get 1 million, or you can get 100,000 for your 10 shares. So remember, there's only so much money, and only one person can sell the top, and that's almost certainly not going to be you.
Okay, do either of you guys have a Twitter feed that's full of dumbass crypto shit?
Nope.
fuck no, I'd never pay attention to that. Crypto people online are the worst. I
what
mentioned this
do you
on
wanna
Fresh and
talk
Fit.
about?
People that get rich because you bought some shit coin and you lucked the fuck out that are now pretending like they're fucking financial gurus, like writing white papers on other dumbass crypto. They're so fucking annoying. Bro, you didn't accomplish anything. You're not smart. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. You got lucky. Shut the fuck up. Take your fucking lottery ticket and get the fuck out of here. Jesus Christ.
I had a recruiter reach out to me to be a trader for cow coins. They offered me 500 grand plus like a couple $1 million in fucking cow coin equity. Like apparently there's a shit ton of money to be made scamming retail. So,
Damn, why didn't you take it?
why? Because I'm not going to prison for trading unregistered securities.
Do you think that's going to happen with all these rug pulls and shit? You think the SEC
Yes,
is going to
yeah,
catch up?
it will.
They're starting to prosecute, aren't they?
Eventually.
I thought there were a
Yeah,
couple charges dropped, yeah.
Yeah, so they're prosecuting Ripple is the big one being fought right now. There's also there's a lot of like small ones in the works, because what they do, how regulators kind of work, is they're 5 to 10 years behind most things. They'll come after the most egregious offenders first, so they're going to go after like all the explicit people. So BitConnect, there was another one, it was like Buy Bitcoin or something like that. They're going to go after all the big ones and all the explicit scams first, and then they go to the rest of the industry, and then they clean house afterwards. But they're always pretty far behind what's happening in the real world. I think they just hired like another 100 staffers or something, or maybe it was 10. They hired a lot more people to focus on crypto in general, because that's coming to the forefront, right? We just saw Luna blow up, and that became a huge political event because a lot of people and their constituents were losing a lot of money to what was an unregistered security that was sold to the public. There were promises of returns made that is definitely an investment contract, and there was no regulation around that. And a lot of their constituents lost money. But two, they're also scared about maintaining control of the dollar system. So as an entity, I can't go out and create dollars. But there's an argument that these stable coins that aren't fiat backed by just like treasury reserves or something like that, there's an argument to be made that those are just basically counterfeit dollars. If I say, oh yes, this is Destiny stablecoin, always worth $1, because I say it, well, there's an argument that you're just counterfeiting a US dollar right there.
I don't know about that one. That seems harder.
Oh, sure, but I mean, yeah.
Hard just thinking about it.
Dude, good one, man.
Whoo!
Dick jokes. Yeah.
Wieners.
So yeah, how's DGG coin? Do you have Kate cooking that up? What's the launch plan? When's
That
your
would be
white paper?
funny, though. I bet there's a lot of money to be made there, though.
Oh yeah, if you put anything up and you have a couple $1,000,000, I'm sure you can like double your money in like a week just copying a code base and then a good advertising base to pull too. I mean, just look at the FaZe Clan Save the Kids token. Like that pulled a couple $1,000,000 in like 2 days. But now imagine if you.
I feel like we have a really
bunch-
recent example we could look at too. I don't know, like within the past couple days. Can anybody think of a really recent rug pull that we can?
Oh, the Martin Shkreli? No, he got hacked, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Fucking
just
Martin
had-
Shkreli, CJ. Oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah. There's no way he's that dumb. Like,
For just 400K, but who knows?
yeah.
I mean, if you can get people to still believe it, and yeah.
Why would I do this for $500,000? For only
Well,
half a
you
million?
just got out of prison. You don't have any money. What's the easiest way to get 400K? Oh no.
It is funny
remember
because
that.
I feel like you could find. Actually, I know I said this. I guess it'd be a funny meme clip to make. I'm pretty sure when I spoke to him like a month ago, didn't I actually explicitly say like, bro, you should do one of these crypto rug pulls? Like it'd be sick as fuck. Like
Yeah.
everybody's doing it to make money. I'm pretty sure I explicitly suggested that to him.
Yeah, and then he thought about it and he did it in the matter of a month. I don't know. The space that he had, whatever the Twitter space is, it was like the biggest amount of cope. It was like, oh, well, gee, I guess I should have like not just gone to sleep. Oh, gee, I guess I should have like not had whatever. It's like he didn't think about anything. At all.
Anything,
There's
yeah.
no way. Yeah, it's like, why would I bother writing 30 pages to get 400 grand? It's like, well, I could just pay some guy, or at least back in like 2017, it was like $10,000. They would set you up with like a white paper, a website. They would copy paste the code for some project, so you'd have a token that would like run on like AWS.
Sure.
And they would just like set you up, and then you just made your branding whatever. And I'm pretty sure those shops are still around, and that's like what the FaZe Clan people did. Is just like 10K for your crypto in a box. I'm sure he just did the same thing.
Yeah, maybe.
And then maybe like paid some guy to write a little bit about proof of medicine or whatever the hell that, he was doing. Yeah.
Hold on one second.
You know, there's also a lot of drawbacks, obviously, and you just have to balance those and get the best out of something without getting the worst out of something.
Are we getting a Shkreli NFT rug pull soon?
No rug pull. I don't rug pull.
Yeah, jeez.
Rug pull is for people without money who need money desperately. That's not me.
I guess this was a 2 month ago conversation. Well,
Well, he said he wouldn't do it. I don't know what else.
well,
you
he
guys
said
need.
it's rug pulls are for people that desperately need money that don't have any, though. He did say that too.
Yeah. How many league skins do you guys have?
True.
I feel like there's so many better ways to just monetize yourself than just like
Yeah, especially when you're Martin
Like, you could just,
Shkreli.
yeah, you can just do the same thing that fucking Jordan Belfort does. That scammer piece of shit is still out there charging 50 or 100 grand every time he makes a speaking appearance. Like, it's totally doable.
Yeah, but what's
Dudes.
harder, writing 30 pages? We're going to talk
Thanks.
for like 2 hours.
Well, it's about like the future of your name too, because I feel like
Yeah.
unless he really does get away with it, I think his name is pretty fucked now. Like he came out of jail, he kind of had another shot to rebuild stuff, and now like within 2 months of being in that halfway house,
oh, did he have another shot though? Like, I feel like he's a household name
Yes.
for being the pharma bro.
he had another shot online for sure. Like maybe with like normies, his reputation is like ruined.
Even in finance, he absolutely could have just like been a name on one of the funds, taken like a small 1 or 2% cut just to have his name, because there's enough people who think what he did
Isn't
fine.
the worst thing. Yeah, relisting drugs, making money, it's not bad.
Or was good business, or at the very least,
thinks that
profitable,
one,
sure.
that it's good business, or two, that he has, marketing appeal. It's like, oh, this one of our senior advisory board members for our new whatever is like Martin Shkreli, right? And then his name is worth something to just like stick on 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 funds. because there's plenty of people who are willing to go to bat and like pay for stuff like that. So
Okay,
it just
here's the real question. If it's just 400K and that's nothing to him, and that's, you know, these rug pulls are for poor people, and why would he write 30 pages for a mere 400K? Is it out of the question that he would just refund people that lost their money?
No,
or
he's
maybe
not.
he's going to VCs, but he's absolutely not going to.
I mean, it's nothing to him though, right? Like, I feel like that's the way out for him. I don't know.
I think he just
I don't know what his net
wanted money
worth
that the
is,
courts
but-
couldn't seize. I think that's what it is. It's like he knows for the rest of his life all of his income is going to be taxed for all the money he owes. And then that's a way to get at least a little bit of a bag.
Jeez.
Wow, Sealand, thanks for gifting 10 tier 1 subs, buddy.
I don't know. Either way, I think it's like a lose-lose for him. Either way, I just don't know why. I just can't fathom any reason why it went down the way it did. Because like he's got to go into this looking like, oh well, if I just get ratted and I lose this entire project that I was trying to build, yeah, I get 400K, but no one's ever going to do anything with me again.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before, because like the thing is, the focus, I don't even think, there's like two possibilities. He either scammed or it was an unimaginable amount of ineptitude. And I don't know which one of those is actually worse. Like,
I would say it almost certainly had to be the scam.
I mean, if you're
just
so
doesn't
dumb
happen.
that you're like losing 400K because you're downloading fucking torrents or some shit, like,
You're never going to get anything again. And
yeah, like that to me is worse than the actual scam. Like if you were actually that technologically inept, that's wild to me. But
I don't know. They did that Save the Kids coin, and that Phase K guy is still, you know, like a million YouTube view guy, right?
Yeah, but he's also not a convicted felon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his business isn't like, oh, I'm pretty smart. I know how to do whatever. I know how to, invest in all these companies. I know how to turn around these drugs. Whereas Phase K is just.
I
Like,
see what you mean. This is going to limit Shkreli's like professional opportunities.
Yeah.
What little he had.
and the casual like online professional opportunities, that's really generally what we're talking about, probably.
Yeah.
Well, when's DGG coin?
Good one. What is this?
I look at like Destiny, and I look at Sneeko, and I look at the show that was going on like 3 days ago. I think it was done with the best of intentions, but no one took Destiny to the woodshed, and that's what needed to happen. And sometimes that's hard to do because people don't want that conflict. They would rather, well, he's a content creator, and he's got 2 million viewers, or he's got whatever. Yeah, but they need to be taken to the woodshed. Abba and Preach needed to be taken to the woodshed. All these guys need, and especially critics. We're really kind of running into. I mentioned this on Rule Zero, and I mentioned this last time I had.
The problem is like we could do this, but the problem is that it's just gonna be him screaming at me the whole time that I'm a cuck, and then me saying like I don't care that much about doing an open relationship, and it's gonna be him going cuck, and me going I don't okay if that's what you feel, and then he's gonna be like you're coping. I'm like. Okay, dude, whatever makes you feel better about yourself. His mind is too small to conceive of another worldview. Like, I can explain why they think the things they do or why they feel the ways they feel. I can do that perfectly. I've done it. I've already done it today. And if you put me in any Redpill debate, I can take up their side and I can argue every point they have better than probably most of them. Maybe not Myron, because that dude's pretty right. But in their mind, he can't conceive of a mind like mine, right? Like if you're in an open relationship, you must be really insecure. You must feel like you're getting cucked constantly. It must be eating away at you. You must be horrible. Like they're like my mind can't be envisioned by them. So like I'm not saying this to talk shit. What I'm saying is that it becomes like a really boring debate where like the whole time he's gonna accuse me of like coping or being in bad faith. And it's like, well, what the fuck how am I even supposed to engage with you? You know? It's like the Astral Codex 10 milestone. Yeah, maybe something. Oh yeah, the developmental milestones. Yeah. I've seen his content. It won't be like that. It'll be him spamming stats and studies at you like a conspiracy theorist. Maybe again, I'm being pretty rough on this guy because he was talking a lot of shit in chat. He was talking so much shit in chat. It was so fucking cringe. But maybe in an actual conversation, maybe he's more chill. Maybe he's just like one of those guys that talks shit online, but when he's talking to somebody, he backs off a lot because he's a pussy. It's possible.
People who are just now encountering Andrew Tate, or maybe they are just now, like for a younger generation, I look at Sneeko and I said he's kind of trying to emulate Andrew Tate, even his vocal intonations. I kind of picked that up. Do you guys pick that up? Because I kind of picked that up when I am listening to Sneeko, and Sneeko's very much red meat. That's pretty much all it is. There's a lot of guys who are just red meat peddlers and the red pill. But
You should debate him in
guys
person.
are
Does he live in Miami or where does he live? I mean, I can fly out anywhere technically. Do you know where he lives?
brand ambassadors. So when I have to go to bat for you on Adam Sosnick's show or Jedediah Bila's show, or I've got some other upcoming ones, which I'm not going to mention just yet. But when I have to go on those shows and I have to explain and I have to sort of clarify things and just clear the air for people. The reason why I have to do that is because people look at me and they go, well, Rollo's been writing about this for 20 some odd years. He must agree with these guys. I'm like, they're mostly prescriptions, not descriptions.